Trim a bit of this excess off. Now, part of the tail is the flash. What I use is a silver twisted. And I'm just going to take one strand of it, double it over a couple of times. So I end up with about 4 strands, like so. And I'm just going to tie that on and work it towards the back. Now, ideally, it would be nice if you had 2 strands on each side. And I like to cut them off about the ends of the tips of the rabbit fur. Just gives a little flash to it. Well, that's basically the tail. It's just got a little flash and rabbit fur. Now for the body, I'm using this chenille. Now this is black. I should mention that if you're going to use this fly, you might want to tie it in black, green, and sometimes even purple. So I'll strip off a couple of, just to expose the end so I can tie it on towards the back. Oh, before I go any further, one major piece I need here is some peacock curl. I'm going to take a couple of good strands. Peacock curl. Stroke it to bring them up. A lot of people use wire or other ingredients to strengthen the peacock curl. I just put it on just like that. Then the chenille, in this case black. And I'll bring my thread up to the front. And the chenille is just basically wound up. To the front of the hook. And I'll tie it off with a couple of turns here. That off. Now, this peacock curl can be fragile. So I'm going to put a couple of twists in it. And I'm going to wrap it in reverse of the way I put on the chenille, but not too tight, because I don't want it to bite into the chenille. But this herl has got UV reflective parts in it. I think that's a key in this particular fly. And I'll tie off the hurl. Trim it. And basically that's it. And I'll just give it a whip finish. And that's it. Add a little bit of head cement. And that's it.
Can I ask people to put their system on mute if they're not speaking so that the camera stays on Dennis? Dennis, are you going to put any head cement on there?
Yeah, I just put a little bit of head cement on it just to seal it. Now, like I say, some people use wire or whatever to support their hurl, because once a fish hits it, it's liable to break or come undone, but that doesn't bother me that much. Again, different colors, black, green, and one time purple was just amazing. But that was only that 1 year. So, but in size 6 and 8s and maybe 10s, this fly, just like the halfback, simulates a lot of different species of insects. And it's a good fly to go searching with. Not many people actually cast fly fishing at Buttle Lake. It's mostly all trolling. I know 1 year Ron Esty was up there and he was casting some flies. I don't know which fly he was using, but most of the time people are just trolling, rowing or just motoring along very slowly. And what I do is I'll put this fly and one of the other flies I'll be showing you on some sinking fly lines. Now my sinking fly lines are just ordinary fly lines. I don't even buy them at the fly shop. I might go to a hardware store where they're selling fishing gear or something, and I'll pick up some inexpensive sinking fly lines because I'm only trolling with them. And I'll use maybe 8 or 10 feet of straight monofilament, usually fluorocarbon, to the fly. But when I'm trolling my flies, I strip out my entire fly line, including about 30 feet of backing. So it's well behind the boat and it has a chance to sink down the different depths. And when I fish it, I'll zigzag my boat. And that way it gives my lines different speeds and might trigger a bite. So that's the Ray Wallis special. Any questions on it?
Yeah, when you change the color, that just, you only change the body color.
If I have some marabou, I might change the tail also to match it.
Okay.
But I think this fly in 6, 8s, and 10s will be just a general fly to use.
Okay, thanks.
The next fly.
Dennis, do you ever weight those?
No, I don't. The reason I don't weight them is because I'm going at different speeds and it's going down at different depths. So no, I don't weight them at all.
Okay.
I just might slow down the boat or actually stop the boat, put my motor in neutral and just let it sit.
Could probably also tie this on a balanced hook so it rides point upward. if you're fishing somewhere where there's this nagging issue, that
if you're fishing with a float or an indicator and going straight down, I think a balanced fly would be good. I was looking at some balanced flies the other day, and I came across the bruised balanced leech. It's a black and blue. And I tried tying it and then dipping it in hot water so all the material goes towards the back. I can actually show you one.
You comb it with an old toothbrush. Just
Yeah. Yeah. This is the bruised bleach I tied. I saw it on the internet, and it's I thought it kind of turned out great. So when I go up to Yellow Point this year and I do my fly tying, I'll be tying quite a few of these, and I'm going to change my method of fishing this year a little bit, where I'm going to actually use balanced flies at the mouth of the river, anchor my boat, and just cast down and with an indicator. Because last year I saw tons of fish just right out off the mouth of the Ralph River, and anywhere from 5 to 20 feet of water. So I'm looking forward to trying that. This little guy is the Doc Spratley. And for years, it was very successful in Elk Lake. And I would tie it in black, red, and green. And I would use it as a searching fly, trolling it on sinking lines. And I've got, I used to collect them when they were all beat up and used. And I think I'd get something like 10, 12 fish on one fly. It just looked also beat up. Anyway, so this again is tied on a number 8 hook. And I'm going to start off with black thread. And just work it towards the rear. For a tail on this one, I got some grizzly hackle.
If I sneak past, can they hear me, see me?
I'll stop the video. You tell me when.
Wait a minute.
And this grizzly is really the inexpensive one that you can see it's not very good quality, but for the tail, it's ideal. So I just strip it back so the barbels are sticking straight out. And I'm going to collect pieces from each side. Don't need too many. And again, the tail is maybe half the length of the shaft. It's not too long.
Dennis, what size hook is that?
I think this is a 10. But again, 6s, 8s, 10s, various sizes. You know what? I'm going to undo this. I'm going to show you something that most people don't use on their flies. If you can see that silver coming down behind the tail, I do that to my duck Spratleys because somehow I think it simulates an air bubble. So I'll take my Mylar. Now, most Mylars have two sides, one gold, one silver. So I tie my Mylar on gold side facing me, so that when I twist it over, the silver is showing. I'm just going to run that down about a quarter way down and then run it back up. There we got part of the curve covered in silver. Then I can go ahead and do my tail. Now, what I use for a body is Unifloss. And I'll cut off a piece. What I like to do with the when I'm creating a body, so a lot of people create, it'll go from thin to thick towards the head. I like to create mine as sort of a torpedo shape. And I'll just start wrapping. Perhaps I should have doubled this so it wouldn't take as long, or I wouldn't lose it. I'll just build it up a bit. And I'll stay well back of the head of the hook.
Yeah, Dennis, this is a spot where a bobbin rest and a rotary vise
Yeah.
make it easier.
And I've got both, but I can't use a bobbin rest with this camera here. Okay, so I just built up a bit of a torpedo shape. And it doesn't have to be very fat. And I'll wrap my silver ribbing. I'll put about, see, I don't like them that close together. Then I'm going to do a bit of a beard. And again, I'm going to use my grizzly hackle here. Here's where it gets tricky, right? You got a tiny bit of beard there. I'm going to pinch it. Tie it in like so. And I like my beard to stick out a bit, so I'll put a back wrap on it a bit.
I'm muted now.
So, or now for a wing, I'll use some peacock. It's got two sides here. I like to use the multicolored one. I'll bring it out at an angle so all the barbs here are at a right angle. And I'll make that about the length of the body. Pinch it off, give it a couple of loose wraps and tighten it down. You see, I gave myself quite a distance between the eye and the material. The reason for that is that I'm going to use some peacock pearl for a head. And again, the UV reflection of the peacock pearl is, I think it's pretty important.
Is the
Grab.
wing pheasant?
Beg your pardon?
Is the wing pheasant?
Yes, it's pheasant, yes.
Okay.
Pheasant. So. grab. Yeah, I'm gonna just build it up and work my way forward. Get a nice little bunch there. And then go with a whip finish. And again, just touch a bit of head cement there. And there we have our black Doc Spratley. Any questions?
Just a couple of comments. That's probably the most effective fly I've ever fished. I've caught more fish on that than just about anything else. And your trick of letting the line go out. I used to use a Type 3 sink with a short leader and let it out behind the canoe, almost the entire fly line, and then just zigzag the canoe back and forth paddling.
Yeah.
That was a very, very effective fishing method in lakes. We had one guy in the club in Edmonton who used to do that as well, regardless of the pattern. He'd let the entire fly line out and then sort of zigzag up and down the lake. And he was very effective as well. That pattern and the other one, they represent so many different insect species that live on and around the top of the weeds that it's just very productive.
It's a good searching fly, but now that you mentioned weeds, Buttle Lake does not have weeds. I mean, it's beautiful, clear water. Visibility is at least 20 feet.
Yeah.
Well, that's the Doc Spratley.
I'm just curious, does anyone know if there ever was a Doc Spratley or how the name originated? I think it's a Bill Nation fly, but I just wondered if anyone knew.
No, don't know.
I think it's from Washington State.
Yes, I understand he was a guy from Washington State, and he invented the pattern. It was fished in the Pacific Northwest a lot.
He was a dentist.
Okay. Now, let's try my third choice. Universal fly, Woolley bugger. And it uses probably the same techniques as the other flies I've been tying here.
Dennis, I have to leave.
Okay.
Thank you.
And again, I'll just here.
Dennis, back to the Doc Spratley. What sizes do you tie those in for Buttle Lake? Do you do 8, 10? What do you do?
Yeah, 8s and 10s.
8s and 10s?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So again, we'll just start off with some thread on the hook and the tail, similar. It's again, I'm going to use rabbit fur. And this time I'm not going to use, I'm not going to put that silver down a hook to simulate an air bubble in this particular one, but it's an optional thing you can do. I think I've been tying my previous flies over the years too long a tail. It looks more like a leech than it does a fly. So shorten up on the tail a bit. And then again, in this particular tail, I want to use a bit of flash. I'll just put 2 strands on each side. One on that side and another on that side. And I cut them off the length of the tip of the tail. And I'm going to tie in my silver. If I can find it, what I do with it. Silver ribbing. Again, tie the gold side towards me so that when I flip it over, it'll be the silver side showing. Now, in this woolly bugger, what makes it stand out, I'm going to use a black feather. Here we are. Black feather. And I don't want it too long. So I'll take a skinny one and take a look at how long they are and see where I'm going to start. I start with a narrow end towards the back. For the body, you can use the black chenille, or what I'm going to use in this case is a synthetic black material. I don't even know what it's called. And I'm just going to wrap the body. Again, looking for a torpedo type shape. followed by my ribbing. And then I'm going to take my feather and I'm going to go in between the ribbing. It might be a little bit too much, might be a little bit too long, but get the idea. And that's my basic woolly bugger, really basic. You could always put a peacock curl on it also for more attraction. Anyway, those barbels there will give it a bit of movement. Not the best one in the world, but
So Dennis, question. The
Yeah.
body often in my flies gets chewed up pretty fast, either by rocks or by fish. On this one here, could you put glue down, or sorry, head cement down on top of the mylar before you put the hackle down and sort of hold it in place better?
I've never found it a problem for me anyway. Trolling these flies, you take about 4 or 5 with you and you never know if they're going to work or not. So you don't want to tie 24 of them or 10 of them, but just tie maybe 3 or 4 of each one, or different colors, sizes. But I've always been inclined to over tie and then end up with so many flies I've never used.
Yeah.
So no, they'll get chewed up a little bit, but
Yeah,
it's amazing how chewed up ones still keep catching flies.
the traditional way to secure the hackle is to use wire instead of mylar as a ribbing and counter wrap it over top, and that binds the hackle down. So that's the traditional way of doing it.
Yeah.
And glue won't do the trick though. That just glues the barbules together so they don't flare out nice.
So that's it, guys. That's my 3 flies I use. They're really basic, easy to tie, and
Good.
that's what I use for Butter Lake. And again, for Butter Lake, if you want to get into it, look up the bruised balanced leech, and there's a really good video on it, how to tie it and how to dip it in the hot water to get it to really nice and flow, and then as it's fluctuating, it goes in and out.
Dennis,
So
I've only fished Butter Lake once, and that was last year, I believe, May 24th weekend, when a bunch of us from the club visited.
I remember, yeah.
And I was indebted to you for supplying me with a floating pattern, a black ant pattern, because there's a black ant hatch. And unfortunately, I wasn't there for the first day of the hatch, which is the miracle day, but the second day, and I caught several fish, which I was able to cast to. I was standing in a little porta boat along the shore, and a fish would rise, and then I'd spot it and cast to it.
And that was just right off the campsite.
Yeah.
And there's fish that would just travel around in that little inlet there and go right around and keep coming around to you.
It was
And,
amazing. So
yeah.
if I was ever going to go back to Buttle Lake, and I hope to go back, and it's going to be around the end of May, I would bring a bunch of black ants, carpenter ants, those floating flies, because I had an amazing time. It was just great. And I thank you for those flies, because I forgot to bring some.
Yeah, and I've always got extra flies for anybody that needs them. The thing with the black ant hatch, and I'm going to be touching on that insects portion this coming Tuesday as a speaker. I'll go through my list and I'll touch about the different insects there and what effect the black ants have on their. What happens is the black ants get so gorged with, or the fish get so gorged with these black ants that when you open them up, they just burst open like a balloon, just full of ants. And what I found personally is that even though I've tried fishing with ants, I've never very, very successful. But once they're full of ants, the ants have an acid that takes a very long time for the fish to digest. So the fish will just drop off for the next 2 days. There won't be any fishing. There's just nothing will bite. So what I found out is that that's when I go to my WeTad plugs and I just trigger a hit from them, even though they're not hungry. Lots of little things like that I'm going to be touching on Tuesday. So if anybody wants to join us or contribute, I'd be happy to see you there.
Dennis, what did you call that balanced fly in front of you again, please? Bruised?
It's
what?
a bruise, like it's bruised. It's a black and blue.
Yeah.
Call it the bruised
Leech.
balanced leech. And it's tied on a hook. Here's the hook. Here, the eye for the hook.
Mm-hmm.
So look it up on our website, and they've got a really good video on how to attach this, the extension and the bead, and how to dip it in hot water so it trains all the things.
If
backwards.
you guys want, I can repeat the demonstration from a few weeks ago. I think a lot of you were out fishing that weekend.
Yeah, for the balanced leech, yeah.
Yeah, I did it over 2 weeks. I did hook preparation, because this is the kind of fly you want to tie in batches. So you prepare a batch of hooks, you work out in the process, you work out how you want to balance the hooks.
Yeah, because it's got to be balanced just right.
Yeah, so it depends. It depends on the style of fishing, right? So the way this fly was designed was to be fished under an indicator. So
that's what I'm going to try. That's what I'm going to try this year at Buttle Lake for the first time. I'm going to try.
Right. But I have been fishing it in a variety of streams this summer, pretty much as a streamer pattern. And for that purpose, it actually works quite well if you balance it a little bit forward. So make it balance it more like a jig. So go a little bit more aggressively.
Oh, yeah.
And it did work. It did work very well and fished that way as well. So that you have these options. So when you prepare the hooks, basically you decide what you want to do, and you kind of try to keep them separate, the truly balanced ones from the not.
Yes,
not so
that's an
balanced
idea. Why don't we reprise tying a balanced fly? And I can go on the same vein of this similar style of fly. This is a Carry Special in different colors.
Yeah,
So
I could the balanced leeches that I've tied. I just need to go and get them.
Yeah, so Florin could do a balanced leech, and I could do the Carry Special.
That one on the end looks like a Roach Lake Special.
It's a Carry
No,
Special.
no, the other end. Yeah.
Oh, this guy?
No, the other end.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only it's not dressed as much.
Yeah, no, it's a standard carry special. It uses pheasant rump for tail and for the hackle. And the trick with that one is showing you how to wrap a folded hackle using pheasant rump. So we'll do that one.
I have a question.
So here they
about-
are, colors. You
Mhm.
can see some of
Yeah.
them are these are
You're breaking up, Florin. Yeah, the trick with the folded hackle, showing you the folded hackle with a pheasant rump is sort of a precursor to tying some traditional English wet flies, like a partridge and orange, where you're going to use a folded hackle or a stripped hackle. And being able to manage that technique opens up a whole nother set of fly styles. So we'll have a go at that. The option to that was to do what Ron Este had suggested, is doing a double bunny. That might be intriguing to try at some point, Ron. I was looking it up. It just needs more glue.
am I back on, guys?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I just
the guy that
cut
talked-
off. My Wi-Fi's been acting up. So here's a bunch of bound leeches. And they're all like, you can see different body colors, different bead colors, variations. Here's another set.
Yeah, your video is not going well, Florin.
One of the plays that, sorry?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, my internet connection is wacky. I have to fix. I've had problems for the last 3 days. So again, here are some pumpkin heads, as well. So you can do whatever, you know. So there are some green ones, some purple ones. A lot of them are tied also with dubbing brushes for the bodies, and that makes the production time a lot more efficient. You prepare the time, and those balance leads go really quickly.
Excellent.
So, but yeah, the fill run where I was learning the techniques from, and then I just sat at my desk and did a bunch of things. But I'd be happy to repeat the session. I get.
Like we're pretty well done. I'm going to stop the recording.